But first, a minute's silence has been held by staff at Wessex Water to remember 4 men who died 5 years ago today in an explosion at the company's Avonmouth site. The investigation into what caused the disaster is in its final stages, but a former head of health and safety there says it's taken too long and believes it could have been prevented. Here's Martin Jones.
On December the 3rd, 2020, a storage silo exploded at Wessex Water's Avonmouth water treatment plant. 4 men, Raymond White, Brian Vickery, Mike James and Luke Wheaton, who was just 16 years old, died. But 5 years on, there's still no official explanation as to how or why the disaster happened.
You can see in my report I've got some photographs.
It's led one former head of health and safety at the company to investigate for himself.
I cannot understand why it's taking so long, and I just feel for the families. How can they get closure?
And he believes it could have been prevented.
It shouldn't have happened, and those 3 men and that young lad should still be alive today.
David has analysed publicly available documents to try to work out why the explosion happened.
How can the water companies put things right if they don't know exactly what the root causes of the incident were?
And he believes the health and safety executive may have suspected the causes very quickly. 6 days after the explosion, the HSE issued Wessex Water with what's known as a prohibition notice, an instruction to stop work. It says no suitable and sufficient assessment of the fire and explosion risk had been carried out.
Well, it tells us that the HSE were certain, or reasonably certain, that they hadn't properly considered the risks of methane gas or other things can explode, like combustible dusts, and they hadn't put in the necessary mitigation.
The notice also mentions work which generates heat or sparks. So, very soon after the incident, the HSE may have already indicated a possible cause.
You have to have 2 things, obviously, for an explosion. You have to have something which will explode, which I believe was methane gas. There has to be then a source of ignition, something that ignites it, something that sets it off, which according to that would appear to be hot work.
This is also mentioned as the cause in another report written by HSE scientists 2 years ago. Yet the formal investigation still hasn't finished. In a statement, the health and safety executive told us it understands how difficult the wait has been for the families, but said it was now in the final stages of its investigation and that a detailed report has been submitted to its legal team who'll consider what action to take. But some families face even longer waits for answers. It's been nearly 10 years since a collapse at Didcot power station killed 4 men, and there's still been no official explanation. It's led some campaigners to call for interim findings to be made public quicker.
If families don't know what actually happened, then they fill that space with horrible, dreadful thoughts of how the person they love died. If that can be given as soon as possible, that will help those people in understanding, it will help their mental and physical health, and it will help them just cope.
But could the disaster at Avonmouth have been prevented? Well, David has looked at aerial photos of the site and, although he can't be certain, believes the silo which exploded wasn't fitted with a key safety measure.
I can see no evidence of explosion relief panels. They're pretty obvious if they're there. And they would be either pointing outwards or upwards, because their job is to discharge an explosion safely and not through a catastrophic failure such as we saw in 2020.
In a statement, Wessex Water told us they've cooperated with the health and safety executive's independent investigation, but couldn't comment on the specifics as it was still ongoing. They said their thoughts are with the families, friends and colleagues of the men who died. But 5 years on, all are still waiting for answers. Martin Jones, BBC Points West.